The PRC-25 radio at Firebase Crook weighed 23 pounds dry. Add the battery and antenna, and you're humping 31 pounds of olive drab metal and vacuum tubes up a hillside that climbs 400 vertical feet in less than half a click. The radio operator, Specialist 4 Lawrence, carried it on his back with shoulder straps that cut through his fatigue shirt and left purple welts on his collarbones. The frequency was 47.40 megahertz. The effective range, under ideal conditions, was 5 kilometers. Firebase Crook sat 8 kilometers from the nearest artillery support at LZ Buttons. The mountains between them created dead zones where the radio signal bounced uselessly off limestone karst formations that had been there for 60 million years. Static, then nothing. The tape continues to spin for another 6 minutes, recording only the hiss of ionospheric interference and the click of the recording sergeant's cigarette lighter. Clay soil. Each bunker was reinforced with sandbags filled to a weight of 40 pounds per bag. The standard defensive bunker required 320 sandbags. Firebase Crook had 11 bunkers. That's 3,520 sandbags filled by hand in 17 days. The men developed blisters on their palms that burst and reformed as callous as the texture of boot leather. 4-point barbs spaced every 3 inches. The outer wire was strung in a triple-strand configuration at a 45-degree slope, designed to funnel attackers into predetermined kill zones covered by 2 M60 machine guns. Each gun was belt-fed and fired 7.62 millimeter rounds at a cyclic rate of 550 rounds per minute. The guns were positioned in bunkers 4 and 7. Bunker 4's gun had a known malfunction. The feed tray cover was bent at the hinge and required a soldier to hold it down with his boot while the gunner fired. This was noted in the Firebase logbook on March 22nd. No replacement part ever arrived. Palms and strangler figs. At ground level, elephant grass grew to 8 feet and was dense enough to cut visibility to less than 10 feet. An enemy soldier could crawl to within grenade range before being spotted. A grenade has a bursting radius of 15 meters. The math is simple. The mortar was an M29 81mm tube that could drop high explosive rounds at a range of 3,000 meters. The crew had 42 rounds stockpiled in a sandbag reinforced pit. Each round weighed 9 pounds. At 8:0342 hours, when Lawrence made his transmission, 38 of those rounds were still unfired. 2 minutes later, an enemy satchel charge detonated inside the mortar pit. The explosion registered on seismographs at the Army Research Station in Pleiku, 90 kilometers away, as a magnitude of 0.7 on the Richter scale. To his last 6 inches of tape, he requested more in a supply drop. The drop was scheduled for April 2nd. It never came. 18 flares were strung along the perimeter wire. At 0338 hours, the first flare detonated on the southwest corner. The magnesium light turned the jungle into a black and white photograph. Shadows moved. The men on the perimeter counted at least 40 enemy soldiers advancing in a loose skirmish line. The Firebase commander, First Lieutenant Harkin, radioed for artillery support. The nearest firebase acknowledged. Time to first round impact. 6 minutes. Hours. They used Bangalore torpedoes. These are explosive-filled tubes pushed under wire obstacles and detonated. Each torpedo contained 10 pounds of Composition B explosive. The blast cuts a 6-foot gap in concertina wire. The enemy used 3 torpedoes. 3 gaps appeared in the wire. The men inside the bunkers opened fire with M16 rifles. The M16 has an effective range of 460 meters. At 50 meters, the bullet velocity is still 3,000 feet per second. At that speed, the 5.56 millimeter round tumbles when it hits soft tissue, creating a wound channel 3 times larger than the bullet diameter. A round fired from Bunker 7 hit an enemy soldier in the upper chest. The bullet entered below the collarbone, tumbled, severed the subclavian artery, and exited through the shoulder blade. The soldier dropped in place. His body remained in the wire until dawn. Class Mendez. He fired in short bursts, 3 to 5 rounds to prevent barrel overheating. The barrel of an M60 can reach 600 degrees Fahrenheit after sustained fire. At that temperature, the metal begins to warp. Mendez fired 140 rounds in the first 2 minutes. His assistant gunner held the feed tray cover down with his boot. Mendez could feel the vibration of the gun through his shoulder. The tracers every 5th round drew bright orange lines into the jungle. Some of the lines ended abruptly. That meant a hit. Some of the lines disappeared into the trees. That meant a miss. Mendez did not know which was which. He kept firing. Sound in the background. It is the sharp crack of an AK-47 firing from less than 20 meters away. The AK-47 fires a 7.62 by 39 millimeter round at a muzzle velocity of 2,350 feet per second. At close range, This round will penetrate a sandbag wall. It will penetrate a PASGT helmet. It will penetrate a human skull and continue through to the opposite side. That amplified ambient light by a factor of 40,000. In total darkness, it was useless. On a night with moon and stars, it could detect a man-sized target at 300 meters. On the night of April 1st, with cloud cover, the scope showed nothing but a grainy green void. The scope was mounted on an M14 rifle in Bunker 2. The rifleman, Corporal Tate, used it to scan the tree line. He saw no movement. He reported this to Lieutenant Harkin at 0339 hours. 3 minutes later, enemy soldiers were inside the wire, hitting friendly forces. The helicopters circled for 6 minutes, then returned to base. Fuel was running low. Severed the femoral artery. Blood loss at that rate causes unconsciousness in 90 seconds. Death follows within 3 to 5 minutes. Mendez stopped firing. His assistant gunner took over the M60. The feed tray cover slipped. The gun jammed. The assistant gunner cleared the jam and resumed firing. This took 40 seconds. In that time, enemy soldiers advanced 15 meters closer. Detroit, with 6 months of training at Fort Sam Houston. He carried a medical kit containing 12 morphine syrettes, 20 gauze bandages, 6 tourniquets, and 1 surgical clamp. At 0345 hours, he was treating 2 wounded men in Bunker 9. Both had shrapnel wounds to the abdomen. Green used all 6 tourniquets in the first 10 minutes. He ran out of morphine at 0352 hours. He used his own belt as a makeshift tourniquet for a soldier whose left arm had been severed below the elbow. The B. Aminasiva soldier was 18 years old. He was 2 weeks from the end of his tour. He was what they called a short timer. He died at 0358 hours from hypovolemic shock. The next 6 rounds were high explosive. Each round contained 11 pounds of composition B. The blasts created craters 4 feet deep and 8 feet across. The shock wave from a high explosive artillery round can rupture internal organs at a distance of 30 meters. The rounds landed in the jungle surrounding the firebase. They killed an estimated 12 enemy soldiers. They also killed 2 friendly soldiers who had been pushed outside the perimeter during the assault. Their bodies were recovered 3 days later. Electrical tape was gone. Someone, probably Lawrence, had tried to re-establish the connection by hand. There were bloodstains on the radio dial. Degrees. DeWitt continued firing. At 0351 hours, the barrel warped. The rounds began to keyhole, tumbling end over end instead of spinning. Accuracy dropped to 0. DeWitt kept firing anyway. The psychological effect of machine gun fire is independent of its accuracy. The sound alone can suppress enemy movement. DeWitt fired until the barrel split along the seam. The gun was rendered inoperable. DeWitt picked up an M16 and continued to engage targets with semi-automatic fire. 84 hand grenades. These were M26 fragmentation grenades, each containing 6.5 ounces of composition B, surrounded by a notched steel coil designed to fragment into approximately 1,000 pieces upon detonation. The kill radius is 5 meters. The casualty radius is 15 meters. The men threw grenades at any sound or movement beyond the wire. By 0355 hours, all 84 grenades had been expended. The enemy was still advancing. Transmitted his final radio message to battalion headquarters. The message was recorded. Harkin's voice was hoarse from shouting orders. He reported that bunkers 1, 3, and 6 had been abandoned. He reported that the mortar pit was destroyed. He reported that he had 19 men still combat effective. He requested immediate extraction. The battalion operations officer informed him that no helicopters were available until dawn. Dawn was 5 hours away. Harkin acknowledged. He did not transmit again. 4 enemy soldiers instantly and wounded 6 others. The wounded were later found by a patrol sweep. 2 had died from their injuries. The other 4 had been executed with a single bullet to the head. The bullet caliber was 7.62 by 39 millimeter, standard AK-47. Specialist 4 Green, the medic, Private First Class Torres, a rifleman, and Specialist 4 Lawrence, the radio operator. Their bodies were found on April 4th. 300 meters west of the firebase. All 3 had been executed. Green had a single gunshot wound to the back of the head. Torres had been shot twice in the chest. Lawrence had been shot in the head and chest. His radio was not with the bodies. It was back in Bunker 3, where the tape recorder was still spinning. Standard load for an infantry rifleman at Firebase Crook was 68 pounds. This included the M16 rifle at 7.6 pounds, 20 magazines of ammunition at 1 pound each, 4 canteens of water at 2 pounds each, 1 steel helmet at 3 pounds, 1 flak jacket at 8.5 pounds, 1 rucksack with rations and personal gear at 15 pounds, and assorted grenades, smoke markers, and medical supplies totaling the remainder. The men carried this load up Hill 473 during the initial insertion on March 14th. The climb took 4 hours. Ambient temperature was 32 degrees Celsius with 90% humidity. 3 men collapsed from heat exhaustion during the ascent. They were medevaced by helicopter. 1 never returned to duty, and 5,000 calories per day. The math did not balance. The men supplemented their rations with whatever they could scavenge. Some ate captured enemy rice. Some chewed on sugarcane cut from the valley below. Some lost weight. By April 1st, the average soldier at Firebase Crook had lost between 8 and 12 pounds since the insertion on March 14th. Muscle tissue metabolizes first, then fat. Then the body begins to consume itself. Per day, the Firebase had no natural water source. All water was delivered by helicopter in 5-gallon rubber bladders called blivets. Each blivet weighed 42 pounds when full. The Firebase required 60 blivets per week to maintain minimum hydration levels for 73 men. On March 28th, bad weather grounded all helicopter resupply missions for 3 days. The Firebase went on water rationing, 1 canteen per man per day. Urine turned dark brown. 2 men developed kidney stones. 1 man's stone was 6 millimeters in diameter. It took him 11 hours to pass it. He screamed the entire time. There were 17 dead batteries in the pile, and only 3 functional batteries remaining in the Firebase's inventory. Lawrence noted this discrepancy in the radio log on March 31st. He recommended an immediate resupply. The request was forwarded to battalion. No response was received. Construction began on March 14th. Both spares were used by March 22nd. After that, Lawrence improvised. He spliced broken antennas together using copper wire scavenged from detonation cord. The splices reduced the antenna's effective range by an estimated 30%. On a clear day, Lawrence could reach LZ buttons 8 kilometers away. On an overcast day, the signal faded in and out. On the night of April 1st, with heavy cloud cover and atmospheric interference, the signal barely reached 4 kilometers. LZ buttons was 8 kilometers away. The radio net could hear Lawrence's transmission, but it was weak. Static consumed most of his words. Bunker 7 covered sectors from 300 degrees to 330 degrees. The overlapping fire zones were supposed to create a kill box where no enemy soldier could advance without being engaged by at least 2 positions simultaneously. The plan assumed all bunkers would remain operational during an assault. By 03:48 hours on April 1st, Bunkers 1, 3, and 6 had been abandoned. The interlocking fields of fire no longer existed. Gaps appeared in the perimeter. The enemy exploited them. Grenade. An RPG warhead contains a shaped charge that can penetrate 12 inches of armor plate. Sandbags offer no meaningful resistance. Bunker 6 took a direct RPG hit at 03:47 hours. The warhead detonated inside the bunker. The explosion killed all 4 men inside and collapsed the roof. The bunker was declared a total loss. Analysis of fighting positions, blood trails, and recovered equipment. The actual number may have been higher. The enemy removed their dead and wounded from the battlefield during the hours between 0400 and 0600. A patrol sweep conducted on April 2nd found drag marks leading west into the jungle. The marks extended for over 200 meters before disappearing into a stream bed. Bloodstains were visible on rocks in the stream for another 100 meters downstream. After that, nothing. Enemy soldier carried an average of 90 rounds of 7.62 by 39 millimeter ammunition for their AK-47 rifles. This was the standard load. Some soldiers carried more. A search of the battlefield recovered over 3,000 expended shell casings of this caliber. Simple division suggests at least 33 enemy soldiers fired their weapons during the assault. The actual number was likely higher. Not all casings were recovered. Some were buried in the mud. Some were carried away by the enemy during their withdrawal. The Firebase perimeter was 600 meters in circumference. 3,000 rounds fired into a space that's small equals 5 rounds per linear meter. The air was full of metal. During those seconds, the rifleman was not shooting. He was vulnerable. The enemy knew this. They timed their assaults to coincide with the lull when American soldiers were reloading. This is a standard infantry tactic. It worked. 3 soldiers were killed while changing magazines. Their bodies were found with empty rifles and full magazines still clutched in their hands. Soldiers fired at muzzle flashes. The AK-47 produces a distinctive flash pattern, a bright yellow burst approximately 6 inches in diameter. The M16 produces a smaller flash, 3 inches, whiter in color. At night, Muzzle flash is the primary means of target identification. It is also a death sentence. Every time a soldier fires, he reveals his position. Counterfire arrives within seconds. This is why experienced soldiers fire and move. Fire 3 rounds, move 3 meters, fire again. The meat soldiers at Firebase Crook were not all experienced. Some froze in place. They fired from the same position until they were hit. 7 soldiers died this way. Charges into bunkers through the firing ports. The ports were 12 inches wide and 6 inches tall, designed to allow a soldier to fire outward while remaining protected. They also allowed an enemy soldier to throw a satchel charge inward. 4 bunkers were destroyed this way. The men inside had no time to react. The charge landed. It exploded. The bunker collapsed. Total elapsed time, less than 3 seconds. Ammo supply point, or ASP. The ASP contained 40,000 rounds of 5.56 millimeter ammunition, 12,000 rounds of 7.62 millimeter ammunition for the M60 machine guns, 200 hand grenades, and 6 cases of C4 plastic explosive. The bunker was built to the same standard as the fighting bunkers, with one critical addition. The roof was covered with 6 layers of sandbags instead of 3. Total overhead protection, 72 inches. At 03:53 hours, an enemy mortar round landed 15 meters from the ASP. The round did not penetrate the bunker, but the explosion created a pressure wave that blew the door off its hinges. 2 soldiers were inside at the time, retrieving ammunition for the perimeter. Both were thrown against the back wall. One suffered a fractured skull. The other had both eardrums ruptured. Neither could hear, neither could fight. They sat in the bunker until dawn, surrounded by ammunition they could not distribute. Harkin was 23 years old. He had graduated from officer candidate school 9 months earlier. Firebase Crook was his first command. He arrived at the firebase on March 14th. The same day construction began. He supervised the placement of every bunker, every strand of wire, every claymore mine. He walked the perimeter twice daily, checking fields of fire and making adjustments. He was meticulous. He was also inexperienced. On the night of April 1st, he made one critical error. He positioned the command post in Bunker 3, the centermost bunker on the perimeter. Standard doctrine called for the command post to be located in a rear area, away from the fighting positions. Harkin wanted to be close to his men. He wanted to see what they saw. At 03:59 hours, an enemy soldier threw a satchel charge into Bunker 3. Harkin saw it land. He tried to throw it back out. It exploded in his hands. His body was identified by his dog tags. The rest was unrecognizable. At a single medic. Green could not be everywhere at once. By 03:50 hours, there were 14 wounded men scattered across the firebase. Green treated them in order of severity. Sucking chest wound, severed artery, abdominal evisceration. He moved from bunker to bunker with his aid bag, which grew lighter with each stop. Morphine gone, bandages gone, tourniquets gone. By 03:55 hours, all he had left was a roll of medical tape and a pair of scissors. He used the tape to seal a chest wound on Private Kowalski. He used the scissors to cut away the shredded remains of a pant leg so he could access the wound beneath. The wound was a compound fracture of the tibia. The bone had punched through the skin and was exposed to the air. Infection was inevitable. Kowalski would lose the leg, but that was a problem for later. Right now, Green just needed to stop the bleeding. He used the last of his tape. Kowalski survived. From LZ buttons consisting of 2 infantry platoons and an attached engineer squad landed by helicopter on the eastern side of Hill 473 and fought their way up the slope. They encountered no resistance. The enemy had withdrawn hours earlier. The relief force found 18 American bodies inside the firebase perimeter and 6 more outside the wire. They found 37 wounded. They found the firebase in ruins. Every bunker had been damaged. 3 were completely destroyed. The concertina wire had been cut in 9 places. Unexploded ordnance littered the ground. Satchel charges, grenades, 1 RPG warhead that had failed to detonate. The engineers spent 2 days clearing the firebase. They detonated the ordnance in place. The explosions could be heard at LZ buttons 8 kilometers away. Shot once in the back of the head. The bullet had entered at the base of the skull and exited through the left eye socket. The medical examiner determined that death had been instantaneous. Lawrence's personal effects were returned to his family in Sacramento. His mother received a folded flag, a Purple Heart, and a letter from the battalion commander expressing his condolences. She also received Lawrence's last letter, the one he had written on March 30th. In it, he mentioned the radio. He mentioned the electrical tape. He mentioned that he was running low on supplies. He mentioned that he would be home in 63 days. He did not mention that he was afraid. He did not mention that Firebase Crook was undermanned and undersupplied. He did not mention that the perimeter was weak. He wrote that everything was fine. He wrote that she should not worry. He signed the letter, "Love, Larry," and filed a report. The antenna connector threads were corroded beyond repair. The internal wiring showed signs of moisture damage. The battery compartment was rusted. The radio was classified as non-repairable and scheduled for destruction. Before it was destroyed, someone removed the bloodstains from the dial. They used a rag and solvent. The blood came off easily. The radio was placed in a pile with 40 other radios awaiting destruction. It was destroyed on April 20th. The method of destruction was by sledgehammer. The components were crushed and buried in a landfill outside Chu Lai. The radio no longer exists. The tape recording of Lawrence's final transmission still exists. It is stored in the National Archives in College Park, Maryland. The archive reference number is RG472, Box 18, Reel 347. The tape is 6 minutes and 42 seconds long. Lawrence's voice occupies the first 11 seconds. The rest is static.